after spending so many years, living on earth, and having, many experience in life, now, you know, people want to, share their stories and all that stuff, but yeah, we all, make stupid decisions in life, right? But some of them are just really so dumb. It's so dumb, it's so obvious that, some people just regret for, for the rest of their life, right? And yeah, this is to answer your question. I know a lot of people have questions about me, if they interest me or not, right? I mean, of course, I have questions for other people, but sometimes I just don't have chance to ask them. So this is why I'm making this, video, right? Hopefully people who went to a similar decision, that I went through, or people, that want to learn or want to hear from this, that's fine too, Anyone can, hear, this mistake, right? Yeah, the stupidest decision, the dumbest thing I ever did in life, that that could have cost me, like $100,000, right? I could have been $100,000, richer, today, than if I never make this stupid decision, right? Yeah, some stupid decision just, depend on what it is. I mean, stupid decision, came, and it's just broad, right? You have to be your Pacific, right? Is it investing, right? Or is it, you know, investing, or did you get fired, or any of that? I mean, I haven't done anything, ridiculously stupid, but I feel like I'm gonna regret this, man. But yeah, I definitely, recover it. I'm definitely, doing, more than I ever think in life, right? It's something, that has to, to do with running, right? This is one of my passion things, I've been, doing a lot of this, I started, running, like many years, even, through my childhood here. Now I started, tracking, how fast I run, ever since I started middle school, right? And then coming, high school, like I recently, did go a lot faster. Obviously, now like more into it. So yeah. And the whole story is that what caused me to make this dumbest decision, that's, just being, on topic, right? Is that I've been limiting myself, right? And I've been noticing it for like so many years, right? Sometimes I know it's a problem, but I don't solve it because it just gets uncomfortable, and and I just don't like it, I feel uncomfortable, I don't have, I just gotta be more mentally tougher, right? Yeah, there's sometimes, you see a problem like, but you don't want to solve it because, you just don't like it. Like, oh, somebody tell you do this, somebody tell you do that, and you just don't want to fix it because you don't feel like it, or you think, the problem you'll solve on its own. No, you have to put work into it. You have to, get rid of it, right? So, size, man, like, I don't have to do something, super crazy, just to avoid this stupid decision. I didn't have to do anything ridiculously crazy, right? It was pretty simple, If I would just have fixed one of the little problems, that put me in this, situation, right? Yeah, I mean, people who've been following me for years, that, I've been running. Aside, I got injuries and all this stuff, right? Because obviously it's because, I just, get so angry and so, overly sensitive so easily, I just trying to, overwork, and show people, that I am way more tougher than them, and way more arrogant, and that's what got me in, this situation. And now, people don't feel sorry for me, right? They don't. So it makes a lot of sense, just listening to this message, right? So yeah, like when I say I'm being limited, like I just consider not trying, a lot of things, right? Only, or getting, comfortably, out of my comfort zone. A lot of people know that, people who talks a lot, who never done things, they're always in their comfort zone, and that's is just truth, right? Sometimes, to order to accomplish a goal in life, you cannot feel comfortable all the time. You can't, man. I wish everything is easy, but it's not. It's all hard, right? I see people, who do like crazy things in life, crazy things, very crazy things, and they say that they feel very uncomfortable, but they just, deal with their pain, pretend like it never happened, right? I know that. I know they went through a lot of pain, right? I know they did, right? So something, obvious, something, you just have to use a little bit of education and skills, and reasoning, and that can just, shift my life, to a much better place than, and also I'll be a much more, happier person, right? So let's explain this detail, like, what am I talking about, right? So obviously, there's this one goal that I've been chasing for so many years, and I never accomplished it, and I finally did it, right? And you may want to say, oh, like, you shouldn't feel upset about it, you should not, because at least you accomplished it, at least you did in your lifetime. It's better you accomplish things, than you'll never to do it in the first place, right? And it is a weird goal, I mean, it's just a Pacific time. I don't call it weird. Let's just say, a Pacific time, that I try to accomplish in running, right? You have to listen to the entire video. So for this Pacific distances, right? I know that I've been doing a lot of long distances. I know that the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon or marathon, those are the common racing distances. But the Pacific distance I'm chasing is only 5 miles, right? Because, it just depends, where you live worldwide, Some people consider, kilometers for running, and some consider, miles, right? Same thing, right? They're all distances, right? 5 miles, right? And how far that is, 5 miles, I try to run it, in 29 minutes and 20 seconds, right? This specific goal, that I've been chasing for, for many years, right? It's like running 2 kilometers, or every kilometer, like every, sub 340, or, run those, those 2, kilometer segment in just under, 720-ish, right? So, because I remember, back in high school, around my freshman years, I remember that I stopped improving, my running fitness has suddenly stopped improving, for some reason, I just never ran 2 kilometers under, 720-ish, right? And I really wanted to hold that pace for like 4 time out, this and that I can maximally hold, back in high school, right? And it did not happen, right? People, you've been asking like, how fast is 29 minutes and 20 seconds, for the 5-mile distance? It's obviously, 5 minutes and 52 seconds per mile, right? Just over a 550 minutes per mile pace, right? That pace actually is a coincidence, because if you run 1 minute slower for that, and if you run that for an entire marathon, you're just going to break 3 hours, right? And I still, I'm still, not prepared, to break 3 hours yet, but I'm training, really hard, as hard as I can, to efficiently just do it, right? So get back, to the 5-mile thing, I was not just chasing to a sub 3 hour marathon. I am not chasing that for now. I'm chasing, for this goal, that I've been aiming for, right? Every time I chase it, like I keep feeling short, I get to like quarter or halfway distances, my body is just, literally exhausted. I look at the pace and it's like following and following and following. And I realized that I tried to get fitter and I couldn't do anymore, right? There was a lot of things, I did wrong, not increasing my mileage, not, training properly, not having, proper running shoes or running form or anything like that, right? I could spend, so this is the big catch, where this mistake really got me, right? Is that sometimes, if you just urgently want to break, your record, and if you're very close to it, let's say that you want to run, let's say like easily 1 or 2% faster, but then you realize, the shoe you're wearing, is not good, right? Or is moderately wear out, or it's a good running shoe, but there's shoes, that are slightly better, that can possibly, help you, to break the record, right? Does not matter, how the tough condition is, whether it's easy or hard condition, breaking record, you break a record, right? I call it like it is because running is a very tough sport, right? I've seen that a lot of people have improved their times, over the years. It's because, they've been having, like really good equipment, right? And I should have spent my stupid money on, equipments, right? By just spending, a few $100s, right? So this is how I realized, I saw this mistake, right? This is how I just realized. So about a couple of weeks ago, I went to, the shopping mall, right? I go to this Nike store, right? In this Nike Zoom Alpha Fly, right? So I wonder, like, why these people, are wearing, these ridiculously, like expensive, shoe, and their times are improving like crazy, right? Even the light runners does it, right? Why are they doing it, right? Why are they spending, monies, on things, I just think, it's stupid and fancy, but no, that wasn't the case, right? Sometimes, you gotta spend money, on, things that are high quality, that can help you gain you a lots of benefit. This is why, customers are willing to pay, a lot of money because they're gonna gain a lot of benefit from them. Everybody wants to gain benefit, right? That's the key things in life, right? And some shoes, that they're wearing, they're not even cost $300, right? Imagine if I know that if it saves me like a lots of times in life and like thousands of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Imagine that shoe, right? That I'm wearing, right? Boy, so I've been, using my watch, I don't run track, but it just has a GPS watch, come from a satellite, keep track, exactly how far I run, right? I know that it could be a little shrew, by like few hundred meters, right? For long distance, but if it's a mile, then like point, like 001, like maybe round off, right? But it doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? So this is why a lot of people, are breaking record that they never heard of because, they get new equipment and new shoes and new everything, that help them, to lower the standard a little bit so they can reach that standard, right? I should have done the same thing, didn't think about it, and now, I regret it, right? And I still, sometimes I even beat my record, without that, without, using that fancy, running the few $100 running shoe, right? That could help me, boost a little bit more speed, just to have a better record, than before, right? So, it's one of those things, It's one of those things, right? But good thing, I didn't have to pay, like heavy consequences. I know that people's, consequences that they're dealing with, the stupid decision, is probably, like gazillion times worse than my situation, right? Some, affect a lifetime. Some, they end up, losing the life. Some may even end up handicapped, right? At least that none of this, happened to me, right? Yeah, I mean, if I would have break my goal much earlier in life, instead of doing it freaking last year, I would avoid injury, I would have been happier, right? I would avoid like a lot of complication, that I've been doing, over the last year, and this is why, I tend to get a lot angrier now, and cuss a lot because of this, right? That I've been regretting, over the years, right? So, yeah, I think, the goal. So you've been asking me like, when do you want to run your 5 mile under a time of 29 minutes and 20 seconds, right? I want to do in year 2020 or sometime even earlier than that, right? But then I did not make this accomplished goal, and because I got injured in 2023, I thought like, yes, I, my body's done, I can never be great again. I can never do anything ever in life again. But a couple years later, this proves me all wrong, right? And then finally, like September 2025 comes, and I finally, made that goal. Running, 5 mile finally under 29 minutes and 20 seconds, right? Finally did it. And then, a few months later, now, I'm getting pretty close to, breaking, holding that, goal pace for like at least twice the amount of distances, right? And I maybe can even hold for like much longer distances. And like, boy, like the future, that I'm going through, like I didn't realize how easy, the goal that I set myself for so many years, now it just looks like a cakewalk in the park, if I run a race or if I try and survive, holding that pace, I can just like easily, glide through it like it's nothing, right? I mean, yeah, just run, for that distance for like that set yourself. If you just like double or quadruple distance, you're gonna go insane. This is the craziest thing, man. Like I didn't know that I've been holding myself back, and limiting myself, right? Yeah, it's one of those things, like if you hate being uncomfortable, then you're just limiting yourself. It's just sends a message right there, right? Now yeah, of course, that I tested, running in a new running shoe, and I run like a little bit faster, and I'm already happy. Like I already gained like 2% faster, right? So switching from a modern workout shoe, standard running shoe to to Nike Zoom, Fly, I just recently bought for like I don't know how much money, but it was just a little over $100. I bought at a really good price, so that's a good job for me, right? But yeah, it can make you run like 2 or 4% faster. The last time I broke a 5 mile running record was just under 3 minutes. I mean, yeah, like I just run that 5 mile under a 6 minute mile pace, but I never broke 29 minutes and 50 seconds. The fastest 5 mile run I ever did was like 29 and 55, since year 2020. The one before, I broke it, in September 2025. So before September 2025, the record was like this for like 5 flat years, right? And in 2021, like I missed that goal for like over 30 seconds, between 30 to 40 seconds. Let's say 35 seconds, right? Imagine this, like I bought that Zoom Alpha Fly, right? Instead of me running on moderate running shoe, right? By just clear calculation, by just taking 2% off my time, I would have met my goal time, already, right? Look at the calculator. So you know that there's 1800 seconds, in a 30-minute time frame, right? And I just run it just 5 seconds under that, right? If you just take 2% off, I would have ran 40 seconds below the 30 minutes mark, and that would have well put me below 29:20 or possibly even below 29 minutes, right? I've seen people, that has this type of body, that I have, I seen that people they run still faster than me, right? I seen it, with my own two eyes, right? So imagine, you know, my 2021, running 5 mile fitness is the same as 2020. It's technically identical, right? But 2020, I did record on YouTube. Not gonna lie to you. Look, man, I don't live, for the sake of it, I did run 5 miles in under, 30 minutes, right? Just barely, right? Even though I did got kind of tired at the end, I did, kind of, like walk a little bit and then just, back to running. If I just, but not only does shoe help you to run faster, it may not be even 2%, like imagine just taking just 2%, making 2% easier. And imagine this. And imagine, like having, high speed, with it builds your confidence, it makes you like want to run more, faster, and it makes you more mentally tougher, right? It gives you the those energy boosts, right? So imagine, like you overspend your energy, and this is where people slow down toward the end, right? You're having weak finishes, right? Imagine, just subtracting 2%, right? You would have, finished, much more stronger, right? And I clearly do have the fitness, to break that goal, and no excuse over there, right? No excuse. I would have done this early 2020, right? Or if I would have practiced and run high miles like I did, as of recently, I probably would have did it even before I graduated high school, right? Instead of me, not practicing, be lazy and all that stuff, right? But yeah, I just didn't have to change, the number of mileage I run or the number of, workout I do, right? I just had to get the new running shoe, and it probably would improve my time. And even if I failed to get closer, then I would have been motivated, change a little bit more things, and then I would have got to this goal, right? But yeah, holding me back, for years, it did teach me a lesson, like I do need to be a little bit more open-minded, and I do need to take, care of myself, a little bit more better, right? And I definitely need to spend, more money, that can help me, you know, save more money, towards the end, right? You explore new things, you try new stuff, right? I'm like, yeah, you even though, saving money is important, but then, you gotta spend it because you never know, what's gonna happen to this opportunity, right? Sometimes the opportunity does not sit there forever. It's gonna expire, at a certain period. You try to do it right now, that period already expired or the opportunity is gone, and you it's just pointless, man. You can have like millions of dollars in your freaking bank account, and you're trying to, now spend it. It's too late, opportunity expired, right? That's another thing, right? So at least, the opportunity that was given to me, it has not expired yet, and I finally, got the job done, right? So yeah, what happened if I would have accomplished my goal, a long time ago, right? I probably feel like a lot more relieved. I probably feel like a lot more motivated. I feel like, like, oh, like I probably, would have done more things in life. Now I have like a lot more free time and a lot more, time that I save, could have done a lot more things, to help me to grow, even faster than, I ever did, right? So yeah, sometimes I understand that accomplishing goal, earlier in life is important because sometimes you just want to get over with it. So that way you don't have to worry for it again, right? You would just after, like you hit this certain goal in life, now, like you want, try a new opportunity, once that distraction is gone, right? So yeah, I don't know, but I sound really confusing, sound very unclear, but you get the point what I'm saying, right? Why it makes a big difference. So I know that for people who are really into running, like if they really want to beat their PR like really bad something, like I said again, you have to get that new shoe, right? Get sometimes buy a little bit more expensive shoe, can save you, trouble, the record that you've been looking for, right? But yeah, like let's say that you want to beat this record, or let's say that your current fitness is way below, that current record that you're aiming for, or current, fitness that you're aiming for, right? Then yeah, buying that shoe will not, do you any good, It's gonna help you a little faster, but it's not gonna take you to the record because the gap between your fitness and that goal is just too far, right? But my fitness between that goal and my right fitness was not that far at all, right? It wasn't crazy far, not crazy far, right? So yeah, not only it makes me happy, like it makes me want to find better jobs in life, right? But maybe it does not cost me $100, like maybe all them. Oh yeah, so that's a big difference, if I accomplished this at least 5 years ago, right? That your Pacific 5 mile goal. 5 mile goal, right? If I would accomplish that long ago, I would have definitely avoided injury, right? I would. So yeah, injury. I lost. Yeah, lost a lot of money, due to injury and all stuff, and I have to step out of work, for several months, right? So that's called opportunity cost, right? Opportunity cost mean that you could have, go to work and make that money, but you cannot because for other reasons, right? Sometimes, I have to skip work and all stuff because I was dealing with injuries from running, right? I have to go visit doctor, The medical bills, it costs a lot of money, right? I have to take all these, weird tests, that the doctor trying to make money off me. They're not helping me. I regret, like the only reason why I go to doctor because I cannot handle pain anymore. You know, that I feel frustrated. I feel so weak back then. I just went through all complication, that cost money, one by one, right? Cost me, become a lot more careful. Cost me, to take a lot more easier, and I become a lot more lazier, as of lately, right? This is why it's been, holding me back, a lot, right? So yeah, imagine, like injuries is one thing that every athlete and everybody should be careful of, because once you get injured, and if you don't have insurance, then a lot of your money is gonna come out of your pocket, right? Just this doctor, that hardly does anything to you, right there. Some doctor will help you. Some doctor they don't give you a specific treatment, that's gonna help you, heal your injuries, right away, right? You're just technically losing money, You're not gaining anything, right? Yeah, hospital, like medical bills are expensive. That's where the cost, really came from, right? So yes, I was like double, You don't go work, you lose money, you pay your money for your injuries, right? So that's a great lesson, Great lesson, right? What I told you, like none of this will happen, if I already break that record, in 2020, right? Or if I do it a little later, in 2021 or 2022, right? I promise you, none of this would have happened, right? None of this. I promise you that. Right? And because, and probably, my YouTube channel, possibly will up. There's many, way more good possibility, that could have happen to me, right? That could help me, earn more revenue or money, right? So yeah, 30, this is like a long, me, talking, to you, about this, right? But if there's a lot of confusion, I know there's a lot of confusion because I don't communicate well, but this is why I start having recording and talking like this, maybe a little more often, right? I either have to redo the video or I just have to, restart this video, and, break it down to you, in specific details of what's going on, right? And I possibly, get them. And there's another thing, how, this, stupid decision, and medical bill aside from injury, right? I actually had to go therapy, right? And I remember one time, I break my iPad, and people, realize that I have anger issue, right? That's just the truth. So, I went therapy, and all that stuff, right? So that's more money, down the drain, right? So, but then, people realize that I need help, right? At that time. So, yeah, this is what happens, when you don't limit yourself. Like, other things that you're trying to do in your life, now, like you couldn't do it yet because you limit yourself, in doing this certain area, right? It's just like you're blocking yourself, from success, right? I don't know what else to say, right? But yeah, let's just say that, I spend, more money on myself, right? I seen, why people, and athletes, are like looking happier than, comparing, to me, right? Say they spend money, like just helping themselves, benefiting themselves, buying things, that actually make them happy, right? I'm like, yeah, just don't spend money, on random things, that doesn't do, doesn't do any, thing for you, right? Yeah. So you just, have to, you'll stay right. You just cannot overdo it or you just cannot underdo it, right? So I know that, for running, I did not even hire a running coach, right? It's just a simple, like few $100s, right? On the shoe, right? I don't have a running coach. I don't have a running partner. I don't have any this. I don't have any that. But I have access, for some things, that is good enough for me, to get to where I was today, right? Just some, few essential things, right? Maybe I would have bought more, more, supply, and, food or proteins, that I could have make for myself, or there's, running gels, I could have bought like few of this and that, like this, running accessories, that can help me, run, long distance at really ridiculous fast pace, without me, like without, my body, burning out, right? I did burn out my body, one time, we all went through burnout and overtraining, right? We all went through that. Yeah. So, so again, I forget. This clearly explains to you why Eliud Kipchoge ran a marathon under 2 hours, right? Little things, every little things matters in life, right? And Eliud Kipchoge probably knows it too. He probably knows way more better than me because he's an athlete. He's very dedicated of, running sub 2 hour, for like almost 10 years already, right? So I remember in 2017, Eliud Kipchoge wear, a shoe that was way faster than the current new shoe that I'm wearing, right? Way more faster, and he did not sub a 2 hour marathon, right? If Eliud Kipchoge is just like, he just missed, like back to something, I remember that he missed the 2 hour mark, right? In 2019, He did everything he possibly can, the weather was perfect, the condition was perfect, right? Opportunity, and God likes him, wants to give him an actual chance, of finally breaking the 2 hour barrier that everyone in the running community in the sport and people, who don't think, or think that being limited is a myth. They all look after this guy, and he's sub 2 hour marathon, in front of our face, in front of my face, since October, 2019, right? I could have used a method like similar like him, except, yeah, I mostly run by myself. Like, I don't have pacers with me. I don't have these ridiculous equipment, right? I could have just spent some money on that shoe and I would have beat my goal already, right? I would have a long time ago. I keep saying this because, I didn't realize that I can possibly hold it for way longer than 10 miles, right? If I ever, get to like my current peak fitness, right? Or if I, train a lot harder, then, my fitness, is a lot more better than it was actually before, right? Yeah. That's the crazy things that I just said on YouTube, right? Crazy things. I see runners, for example, recording on YouTube, like they didn't even sub a 20-minute, 5K, right? They've been trying it for so many years and they could have not done it, right? And then all of a sudden, they can hold it, for like approximately a marathon, right? My 5K, run in the past, could be the same pace, that I'm currently, hold for like maybe like half marathon or possibly even to be a marathon. So yeah, that new shoe is definitely, help my stride, help my, body, efficiently, to reduce turnover, to reduce, the amount of effort, I need to be pushing at this certain pace, right? Yeah, it's a great way to manipulate my speed, to be faster. Manipulate. So yeah. Imagine, if Eliud Kipchoge, doesn't want to try anything new, he's wearing the running shoe, that I just beat my 5 mile record. You don't know what my running shoe looks like, but let's just say it's moderate, worn out. This guy would have no chance of getting 2 hours, even though all the equipment he gets are all used, to help him faster, right? Guarantee he's not gonna break 2 hours. I guarantee you that. All right, and I should have looked at it this way. Like, how can I, break my record? If he does, something way more ridiculously, I know he's more genetic. I know that his body is way more stronger than I am in running, right? But still, if he can do it, then so can I can do it, right? I can only do a fraction of what he can do, right? A small, tiny fraction. So yeah, so the amount of money that I'm saying in this video, it wasn't investing. Oh yeah, betting is another thing, right? Betting can definitely, drain a lot of your money if you don't bet well in sport, right? Yeah, I never really want to try that, but maybe I should try in the future, right? Betting, there's just a lot of things that can drain your money, like really fast, right? Can't think of another possible way, right? Or get into accident. Oh yeah, car accident, right? I never been to a car accident, before, right? I seen people, that lose their legs or arms, I just heard, like one of my, family's, acquaintances, just, or sister or like brother-in-law, whatever that is, just lost a limb, due to the accident. So good thing that did not happen to me. So you just have to be careful, at the end of the day, right? Some people even lost a lot of money, from scamming, right? Like some people have a really big losses, right? I'm like, for me, maybe if it's not 100K, not the clickbait, you guys, maybe it's just maybe like 25K, 50Ks at most, right? Maybe, maybe if I didn't waste all that time, just, concentrating on being that record, for like 5 years, maybe all that time, I could have, spent maybe like maybe like hours, 1 to 2, hours, per day, just looking for, new job. Maybe I would have find a job, that helps me have decent pay and, health benefits and all that stuff, right? Maybe I would have, but the reason, like, just a lot of, free time, I could have done, that could help me gain money, in many different types of way, right? So, yeah, man, yeah. And maybe, I should have, advertises on YouTube, or help the company brand to go faster, just advertise, say, hey, this, like, these shoes, they are great, right? Maybe I should make a video, or me, wearing a GoPro, telling you the difference between a regular running shoe and a shoe, that I'm currently running in, right? Show you like how much faster I would run. I think the athlete special, does this type of stuff, right? I should literally do the same thing, man, right? Copy good people's idea, right? How they, benefit themselves, and then they try to help benefit others. I should just spread the message like that. As simple as like that. Yeah. So, just gonna have to end this video here. And tell me, what you thought about this, right? But I should be glad, this actually did happen, right? Because I do not want to end up in a much worse situation than it is. The situation that I'm dealing with, is, I just don't want my situation to get any worse than this, right? So yeah. That's the point of you making your dumbest decision in life, so you learn, to avoid even dumber decision, right? That's the whole point here.